Thanks so much for joining us, Mike.
Hi guys,
Wow.
thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to chat with SocialWest speaker alumni.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I guess,
we're
eh?
thrilled to have you here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
both of you. I think Mark, you may have spoken at one of the first ones, I think, but
Yeah,
a while
I
ago.
think
Yeah,
so. Yeah, yeah, I
been a
got
few
somewhere in
times
between.
since, but definitely one of the earlier ones.
Actually, I think I might have hosted one that you spoke at, Mark. I think I
Yeah, you
introduced.
did.
Yeah, I
You did an
introduced
intro.
you to
Yeah,
introduce the panelists.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
right.
big job I had.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Well, no,
Yeah.
it's great to see you guys, and it's great to I love talking about this event, and I love that it's in Calgary. So I'm thrilled to be here.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
know I know you're super passionate about the event. We've talked about it at the Cold Room in Montreal.
Oh,
We've
great.
talked about it at what is it, Lower Deck in Halifax. We've talked about it at Joey's in Vancouver. We've talked about it everywhere. I feel like I've
Do
traveled
I
the entire country with you.
do I have a drinking problem? No.
Potentially, or it could
Maybe.
be
Yeah,
me.
no.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's sort of the fun thing of what this company has turned into is that this started in Calgary and is very proudly, a Calgary event, but has sort of expanded and allowed Calgarians the chance to speak in maybe cities that they might not have thought of speaking before, but also the chance for companies to hear different types of voices from outside of their cities and things like that. So that's something we always strive for. So you saying, that you have spoken at all those events in cities, like I love that stuff. I think I always wanted a career that one, I mean, put a roof over my head, but also gave other people opportunities. That's something that really sort of drives me, and that's for sure what SocialNext has done over the last few years, especially.
Can you talk a little bit about the origin story of Social West? Because I remember, like, you were Mike's bloggity blog before you were Social West, and then
Yeah.
it seems like it was kind of like, oh, I had this idea, and then and now it's become this 10-year overnight success, and I just wondered
Yeah, no,
if you kind of
it's
just go
funny.
back to
So
the roots of it.
it's funny how quick, so like yeah, for 10, 12, 13 years I was definitely Mike's bloggity and doing lots of social media work and lots of blogging and stuff like that, and I was always doing it while I had other jobs, and then eventually that became my job. But if I'm being honest, I always was aware that that kind of job has a timeline to it, uh, to in a couple factors, whether and I what made me sort of slow it down was that content creators and stuff like that now are asked to give so much of their lives and show up so many details and share trauma and inside my house, and I just was never interested in that. So but I had started these before then with that sort of idea, is like, what else can I be doing? And the idea was helping small businesses with social media. So this was early days. It's funny how fast the world changes in 10 years, but like it was teaching people how to do Twitter and how to boost Facebook ads, and really just getting small businesses together in a room to share sort of the information. So no one had more information than the other person. Whether the company was bigger or not, I still believe there's lots of principles that every marketer should follow. And so since then, it's just sort of grown and grown and grown. And so, yeah, we're 10 years in Calgary. And this was not a plan, and I often say if I was to launch 6 events in 1 year now, it would be the Target of events, Target Canada, just because I don't think you can do that with these kinds of events. It relies on word of mouth. It relies on proof of concept and getting people to trust you with their money and things like that. And so started with Calgary for sure. And then after a few years, I'm from the East Coast, and so I wanted to do an event on the East Coast with, because I grew up in a world where people were like, I'm going on national tours, and then stopping in Montreal, kind of, and forgetting that there's 4 other provinces. So,
Yeah,
and I thought this was before the pandemic, but the message was, like the internet is the great equalizer. You can run a very successful agency or campaign or anything anywhere in the world now. You don't have to be in Toronto or Vancouver or even Calgary.
right.
So it's Halifax, and then we added, I think, I lose the timeline a bit. I think we were about to add Ottawa, and then the pandemic came, and then since then, navigated the pandemic, all that sort of stuff, and then we've since added Vancouver, Toronto, and Ottawa, and Montreal. So we're up to 6 now, which is crazy. But no more. Sorry, Winnipeg, you have to pick. I can't do it. I'm too tired.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's incredible what you've put together in the last 10 years, even with what was it, 3 or 4 years of a global pandemic. when your
Yeah.
life is
Yeah.
running an event? How do you like? Let's talk about, let's go through like the timeline here.
Oh
What
yeah,
were your biggest struggles?
I'd love to talk about the most traumatic years of my professional life. Thank you, Garrett.
Yeah, no
An
problem.
events,
This is therapy now.
an
Yeah.
events company.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think for me, I often say, as silly as it is, that was, in terms of business, and obviously people, we lost a lot and things like that. But in terms of my business, it was do or die, literally, in a way. And it was like, I was watching basically every one of my people who have similar events across Canada, like fold, because it was too hard to provide refunds and keep the roof over your head, and everyone was doing something different. And so the lessons I learned through those 2 or 3 years are things that allowed me to continue this and grow it in the way I have. So we decided pretty quickly to do full refunds. That was more of a gamble than like, yes, it was the right thing to do, but I was like, I think I can navigate this in a way that it's going to look really good to the customers, and they're not going to feel like I'm ripping them off. So I call it the most expensive email ever written, but I had like 3 PR crisis people write it, and it was basically like, hey, we're going to offer you virtual conferences that are going to be a lot of fun, or we can give you a full refund. Know that if too many of you ask for the full refund, we can't continue, kind of thing. And 90% said keep the money, do virtual. But what that did was show me that I had sort of miscalculated who was coming to our events. And what I realized then, it was a lot of professional development dollars. So almost everyone was like, well, I don't care, it's not my money, kind of thing. And then people who did care, we gave their money back happily, kind of thing. And
Yeah.
so, and through that, then we did virtual conferences, sent people boxes, really kept people engaged. And through that became this idea of we need to be more connected year round throughout our events, as opposed to, doing Calgary and then not talking to the Calgary attendees for a whole year until next year. So through that came our online community. We recently acquired Marketing News Canada. And so I'd like to think we're sort of becoming this home to Canadian marketers. There's definitely places for, the CEOs or, the executives, but what about the people who are, doing the work per se, kind of thing. And so that's where we've really, I think, thrived over the last few years, is doing whatever we can to get you in the door, in the sense that we don't want there to be any barriers. So if there is, we'll try to figure it out with you, by adding workshops, by adding certifications, things like that. Hopefully that gets you into the door. And then, I had a volunteer in Calgary, in Toronto a few weeks ago say like, oh, my goal is to get a job next year, and then, maybe I could still volunteer. I was like, no, your goal should be to make your job pay to be here next year. And I was like, that's your goal. So you have a year to find a job that agrees that you are worth training and upskilling and things like that. And so all of that, like I smiling talking about it, because that I feel so fortunate that I've been able to figure out a way to, I think, contribute to a really interesting industry, to elevate people so they can continue, to see people go from, this is the first time I've ever been on stage, to being a professional speaker. That started because they reached out and said, hey, I want to speak at SocialWest. I don't ask people if they've spoken before. I don't care if they've spoken before. If their message is solid and it's one that is shareable, then that's usually all it takes to become a speaker with us. And so seeing all these things and seeing people change jobs, seeing people grow in their careers, 10 years is a long time in this world. So it's been a blast.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Mark. Sorry.
I was just going to say, like, the event itself, and I haven't been to all the other ones that Derek has, but the Calgary one, to me, seems like there's just a really great environment. And the show part is really great, but the feeling that people have is really welcoming, inclusive. I think that's largely because of your vision for it to be that way. I just wonder if you could talk about that, because it's not the same at every event. Like, not all events have this experience designed into it.
I think it comes from motivation. So I think most events that we all go to are put on by a company that has something to sell. And so their intentions are different, their speakers are different, the audience there is different, because they basically know they're walking into a 3-hour commercial kind of thing. I'm not picking on events. That's how most of these events are around. There's very, very few events like ours around because they're so hard to do. My sort of philosophy from the beginning was like, to this day, I've maybe been to 4 conferences besides mine. Like I'm still not a conference person, but when I started turning this into a conference, I was like, I can't believe I'm going to charge $400 for this. That's crazy. And everyone's like, I pay $5,000 for a half-day conference. I'm like, that's crazy. So like I started building what I thought, maybe it's the cheap maritimer in me, but I started building out what I thought was worth $400. And also by paying speakers and things like that. And so obviously financially it was a huge learning curve because those numbers don't make sense. And so especially with hardly any sponsorship from the start. So as that grows, it's become a bit easier to manage these sort of things, but definitely making sure that the inclusivity and stuff like that is important, but I'd rather people notice that than me promote it kind of thing. And so I like, whether it's the diversity of lineup, the accessibility of venues, giving opportunities to brand new marketers versus senior marketers, all that sort of stuff. Like it's, maybe there's a little bit of social experiment on my end where I'm just like playing with people and things like that. But it's definitely like, well, why isn't everybody doing this? And it wasn't this attitude of like, I'm gonna disrupt the industry. I didn't know what the industry was. I just saw a place for me, and I literally read every piece of feedback. I read every piece of, I have meetings with all the people who want to talk to me about events because I can't make an event for everybody with all their things, but I can try, and I can try to check as many boxes as I can. And we're able to sort of now continue that through our community and through, no, I can't fly you. If you want to be a speaker in Nunavut, I can't fly you to Calgary, but we have webinars every Wednesday, and I can give you that opportunity. And then when you speak, I can give you, like, we pay you, but also we can give you professional photos and videos, and you can take this and go elsewhere. So definitely people see it as like a launch pad for lots of different things. I think one of my favorite piece of feedback I hear from any of our events is like, I don't know that many people here, so it's not the same old people. It's your chance to meet new people. It's your chance, most of our events get people from pretty much every province and territory. The bigger events, Calgary and Halifax, are seeing more and more Americans. And so having this chance to meet with different people and connect, that, all of that are things that I think about more than just ticket sales. Ticket sales pays for the event for sure. Like that's something I pursue, but I'm very much more interested in the producing of an event that everyone is really, really happy with.
Yeah, I think to tag on with what Mark was saying, and then what you were saying earlier, where people weren't canceling their tickets or asking for a refund with their tickets, I think you need to give yourself a little bit more credit than that, because I think the Calgary marketing community especially wants to build this community, not to drop a CMA tagline, but build a world-class marketing community.
Yep.
So they want to give money to something that is trying to do that, right? Which is really nice. And I like that you're.
I think at that point I had established, that there was a lot of trust put in me for sure. So it was like March 20th, 2 weeks after the pandemic sort of thing. No one knew what to do, but the people who had come to our events knew I wasn't going to produce something crappy, and it was going to be experimental and sort of go with the flow. But in my head, I was like, well, if someone gave me $700 for a conference and now it's virtual, I was like, how do I make that value there? And so that's how we came up with the boxes and engaging with the sponsors and everyone getting it and working with Canada Post and having boxes sent around. And that's something I'd still like to continue doing in some form or another, just because it opened up so many different windows of opportunity for different people to attend our events. But I think the people who've come to our events, like Calgary is the one I like to play with the most, because it's where I think people know me the most and trust me the most. So in other cities like Vancouver and Toronto, people have no idea who I am, and that's fine. I'm on the stage for 30 seconds in the morning saying good morning, and then I stand in the lobby. But Calgary, where I'm a bit more established, it's fun to experiment with different types of sessions and different types of opportunities, and even working with local businesses. So we have a greenhouse there, and people can buy the plants afterwards.
Yeah, right.
And stuff like that. Little things. I like making events a bit different than what people expect. I want people to have a really fun time. If the opportunity allows myself, if I get feedback and their emails there, negative feedback, I write back. I try to explain. I always say I'm going to make a video responding to people's negative feedback and just saying basically if you hated this, that was actually a solution to a bigger problem. So you would have, stuff like
Interesting,
that.
yeah.
But you can't please everyone, obviously. But I say all the time. 10 years into this, it's still so fun. I love this. I feel like a TV producer in a way, and I keep saying, I love giving opportunities to people. I think also too, just touch on your point, Mark, in the community, is there's no ego at our events. So, and in an industry where marketing and speaking is really about ego and projection, whether it's accurate or not. So I'll get speaker pitches, and if it's I've done this, I have this many followers, I usually don't even respond, because I was they're so off from what we're doing. You can be that accomplished, but your email needs to be about what you're going to teach people, not about how great you are, kind of thing. And I don't fault them. That's what 90% of events are looking for. But that's sort of our filter. Vancouver, our first event there, said, I remember a piece of feedback was oh, this was the least pretentious Vancouver event I've ever been to, which, as you know, is something. But I was I think it's because I don't know anybody here, so I didn't feel like I had to make this group happy or talk to this organization. And often, especially in Toronto, I'm getting a lot of wait, who are you emails? And I'm don't worry about it. I'm not you want to work with me, great, but I'm not coming after you, or you're not coming after me. I'm just doing my own little thing, and people are responding to it.
I'm curious about the evolution of the event, at least in Calgary, and maybe different, as you were saying, from all the different markets. But it started primarily as a social media thing, as you were describing, how to use Twitter, how to run an ad on Facebook, that kind of thing. And then over the years, obviously the industry's evolved, but so has SocialWest. And this year you've got a couple of new things as well. There's some training, there's some workshops, there's some certifications. And I just wondered if you could talk a little bit about just that evolution and thinking about what people want and how you know what they want and how you then adjust and deliver.
Yeah, what's funny, I one of the jokes I make is I literally have no idea what our speakers are pitching anymore. I have to ask other people, because when I started this, it was social media. Social media, I understood. I've since switched my focus to events, and so the social media and the marketing world has obviously moved on without me, and so I have to rely on other people quite often to say, oh yeah, now we're talking about this, or what does that mean? I still as that sounds. I don't think you can be an expert at marketing and an expert at events to the same caliber. So I have deep appreciation for marketing. I love it. I think about it all the time. But I probably wouldn't even speak at my own event unless it was about event marketing kind of thing.
Yeah. Sure.
So, and even then, I don't want to give all the trade secrets away, So definitely it's I've started doing this. AI has obviously been so helpful to us, just getting through the information faster. And so one of the things I was doing this year was taking the feedback of our events last year of what subjects people said were missing, and then having it cross-reference with the applications that we got in, and saying, hey, do any of these, fill any of these holes, kind of thing. At one point I even said, hey, what are speakers I'm not familiar with, or who in Alberta covers this topic, and I basically just relied on their information. So we have a speaker that was not on my radar, had not applied, and I just said, hey, Claude said you would be a good speaker at my event. Do you want to do it? And they're like, okay, great. So that's a whole new world, right? And you have to be paying attention to trends. You have to be seeing Like we did once, we did a session on blockchain. I still don't know what blockchain is. I don't even know if we're still using it. But there was 20 people in that session, and the guy was really like, he's like, I'm sorry, there's only 20 people. I was like, great, 20 people learn more about blockchain. Great, that's all I care about. You know, we used to have Clubhouse sessions. We used to have, you know, Snapchat is coming back to Calgary. You know, a lot of people had sort of moved past Snapchat, but they've made moves in the last year with the AR and things like that, where will be really interesting for marketers and how to incorporate it. So just having a variety of subjects, sometimes it's tricky, especially location-wise kind of thing. Like certainly Toronto, there's a wider group of marketers, but a lot of them might be familiar, and so like in the markets might be different and things like that. So you know, part of the challenge for me, it's still, actually it's funny, it's still a bit of a challenge, not as much as it used to be, was that convincing people that this high quality marketing event is in Calgary all the time. It's not a touring show. You know, it's purposely in Calgary on purpose. And, you know, having to convince certain brands or certain speakers that's worth their trip kind of thing is still something I love underdog stuff. So that feels very much in my wheelhouse, is to try to convince people. And then they come and they're so impressed, and I get to showcase the city that I love. And, you know, especially in the media, maybe people's perceptions of Calgary and Alberta are one thing, and they get to come to SocialWest and go to downtown Calgary and see it's completely different. So that's little stuff that brings me joy beyond just people, you know, learning at our events.
Yeah, I think you've done a pretty good job. You know, like just that's okay.
Go ahead.
Just like our members with the CMA, you know, they're always struggling with, you know, measuring ROI and adopting AI, and you've got folks within the speaker roster, Alex from ATCO, excuse the alliteration, talking about consumer insights, and you've got Peter from ZGM talking about AI, and a bunch of other people talking about AI.
I mean, the trick is to limit the AI, right? Like that's been the hard. Last year it was like 1 or 2 sessions, and now like I posted on LinkedIn a few months ago, being like, stop with the AI pitches. Like sometimes I'll use my LinkedIn, not necessarily for me, but like if you're pitching yourself at events, guess what? 90% of the pitches I'm getting right now are about AI. So you get filtered into a pile with the other 90%.
Yeah.
Come at me with a different angle. Come at me with non-AI stuff. But then who knows? Next year, maybe there's a bust and we have to evolve. Like we can't. I think my job is to try to keep the sessions as relevant as possible. And one of the things, because we pay our speakers, I'm able to sort of not boss them around a little bit, but like put them in a bit more of a box than if they're like if they're speaking for free kind of thing, which so many speakers get asked to do. So is having that is just listening to what's happening in the world and staying on top of it. I like for Calgary this year, I tried so hard. I couldn't do it. I tried to get the marketing team behind Heated Rivalry, because I just think that's so fascinating. I tried to get the team behind that made the sweaters for Province of Canada. I almost had the head of the Olympic social media team. Lessons for me, I need to reach out earlier and earlier, but like that sort of is the goal that I really want our events to have, is like, you were just fascinated with this story, now let's hear how they did it kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think Heated Rivalry, at no point was that show supposed to be as culturally relevant as it is and still is. And so how does a company, how does Crave, how do this actors, how does the TV show handle all of a sudden, you know, I see how Crave promotes Canadian shows. It's not supposed to be that big. And for some reason they struck gold. So I love, that's the stuff I want to focus on more as, you know, as we continue to grow, is hearing those interesting stories.
Aside from the ones you didn't get, maybe can you talk about ones that you did that you're excited about?
Yeah, well, one of the things I'm really excited about is our tech and marketing stream that we have this year. So,
me too.
Yeah, I hired this dud to put it together. No, I'm kidding. I hired Derek. Well, actually, great example. I've reached out to the tech sector in Calgary and a few different cities quite a few times, being like, hey, just so you know, this event is coming. And like, back to your earlier point about social media, the name SocialWest, SocialNext definitely causes people to step back for a second, because they think it's social media, and we're sort of stuck with this older name, and I've definitely dabbled with modernizing the name a bit, but don't feel like doing that just yet. But reaching out to these tech companies, these tech startups, and them all basically saying, no, we're not interested in marketing, which drives me bonkers, because at some point you have to stop pitching, you have to start selling. But I don't know anything about the tech world. It just seemed obvious to me. But then Adventures was definitely filling that space in Alberta, and they decided this year not to continue with that event. And so I reached out to them saying, hey, like, I'm still interested in working on this sort of topic. It's a topic I've never been able to really land, both in speakers and attendees. Do you want to work together? So we're working with Alberta Innovates, and we're working with Derek to come together to bring 5 specific sessions about tech marketing. And I like to think of it as a mini Inventures. Alberta Innovates has asked me to not say that, but that's generally what it is in my head. Is this place where, yes, tech startups come to these 5 sessions, come to 2 of them, come to 3 of them if you want, but then go check out this other type of marketing you're probably not thinking about. Go see what other people are doing. I could be wrong. I feel like the tech world is really insular, and in terms of marketing and customers and learning how people buy things, you can learn all those things at my event, whether it's about tech startups or not. So I'm really, really excited about that. We also have Meta doing their ad buying certification now, which is great. They're coming to every city with us. And so I think it's like for $100. It's for $100, not $400. They, you get this 3-hour certification with, the credentials and everything. Being a place where places like Meta and other companies can sort of hold their workshops or be that place where they can land is something that I really wanted to be as well. Like, why are we all doing different road shows? Just join me kind of thing. And I do that when I see those companies doing, tech road shows. I'm like, hey, I'm basically doing that, and sponsoring me is way cheaper than putting on your own show kind of thing. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But so we'll have 4 tracks this year, which is different for us. We're at the TELUS Convention Center again for the 2nd year, but you guys know we started at the Globe Theater down the street 10 years ago. So I can't even, we were lucky from the start. There's 300 people at that first event. So I can't say, like this little thing, it was pretty significant from the start. But to be able to afford the TELUS Convention Center, I would say is as opposed to a partially abandoned movie theater, is a big monument for us. Then showcasing all the people who are coming, who are going to meet guys like you, and vice versa. All of that it makes it extra special. Who else do we have? We have Snapchat for the first time ever.
And Canva's a big one.
Canva's first time ever. Yeah, Canva's the first time ever. And they reached out to me. I have been emailing them for 10 years. No luck. And then one day, one person just emails me, and she's like, hey, I want to speak. I'm like, hell yeah. And I was like, can I use the Canva logo? And she I don't think she did it on purpose, but was answering other questions. I was like, no, tell me, can I use the Canva logo? I'm sure you're very qualified. I just need to put the Canva logo. So that'll be exciting. I totally expect Lauren to have this sort of fandom, just of people who are obsessed with that brand, and what a strong brand that is, to see, how they've evolved from the start. I know 10 years ago we were talking about Canva as a thing that was almost going to wipe out marketing or wipe out graphic designers and things like that. Same way we're talking about AI now, and I think what it does is encourage us to adapt, evolve, figure out how we can still make sense of this world. And
it's almost never the death of all those kinds of hype things.
Yeah,
It's always the death of something else. You're like, no, 10 years later, it's still around.
It can be by choice. Right? It can be the death of your career, or the death of it can greatly modify what you think your career trajectory is. But that's life. You have to adapt. Right. You have to change. For us, I fully know we could not do 6 events without it. So that it's enabled us to respond faster, produce ideas faster, contract sponsors, all that stuff faster. And so we've definitely leaned into it. And I feel very lucky because definitely people in the last 2 years have said, like, the only thing that's real are events. So we all have to go to events. I'm like, yes, come to events.
Right.
It's
Come to
true.
events. But like
And-
now I've been trying, I almost had OpenAI at SocialWest. It was so close.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's cool.
I've been trying to get, I've been trying to get Claude. It's amazing. Sometimes one email, sometimes I guess emails, sometimes I look them up. OpenAI was 2 or 3 emails, and we were so close. They just couldn't make it at the last second. Where Claude, I've been trying for 4 months using Claude, and I say that in the email. And I can't get through. But like, I hope that with enough noise from our Toronto event in Calgary, eventually they'll reach out and be like, "Hey, what is this?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Cool, come on in," because we want to hear from them. And even those bigger companies, they might be a bit more commercially than we like. People are still very eager to hear from them and hear what's coming down the pipeline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's super exciting. It's such a great feel good story, and you're just a great guy, and like
Mark.
I'm so happy for you. Like,
He
Thank
said
you
it.
so much,
I
Mark.
didn't.
You
I
and I
didn't say it. He said it.
Mark and I worked together years ago at Rogers. I was
yeah.
at Breakfast Television, and you were in the ads department, I think, right?
yeah,
Sales
totally.
department. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I remember sitting with you at James Joyce long before any of this was going to be a thing. And I like that. That's what I would tell younger people going to the workforce is you have no idea the relationships you make at 25, 26, how they might come into play at 44, 45 and older. And so establishing these Derek and I we all worked in the same building.
Yeah, actually, we all worked in the
about it.
same building, but I don't know if I've ever seen Mark or met
Yeah.
Mark back in the day.
Yeah,
Mark,
actually, I don't know if I ever
Derek-
connected the dots that you were there.
Yeah,
Derek
it
was radio, and I was Breakfast Television, and you were sales for Rogers, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So,
weird.
that's amazing. That's something that I think people think, how can I get something out of this relationship maybe?
Yeah.
And it's, or I need to project more success than I am. But it's really just, to me, the long game is like, I'm happy. I said this the other day. I'm happy that I get to employ 2 or 3 people. That makes me really excited. I'm happy that I'm, self-employed for now, like 13, 14 years. Like when you're in it, you can forget what a big accomplishment that is, to every day be the reason you're making money kind of thing.
Totally.
Totally.
And we're all there too. So it's been really great. And Calgary has been, even though I moved 6 years ago, I still talk as if I live Calgary. I think lots of people think I still live there. So to go back, it definitely feels like a homecoming. And this 10 years and working with the Calgary Marketing Association. I mean, the associations are so great for vouching. So like I can say, our events are great, I'm sales. Of course, that's what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
But to have credible organizations like the Calgary Marketing Association share with your members, hey, we approve this event. We think this event's really great, worth your time. Like that stuff is invaluable. No amount of Facebook ads can replicate that.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you guys.
And imagine if Kathy, the security guard from our building, saw us now. Am I right? I don't know if you remember Kathy, Mark, but was that her name, Kathy? I think it was.
Oh, it was. Her son and I were
she
in
was
Lil
mean.
Abner. Her son and I were in Lil Abner, the musical, in high school.
Okay.
wow.
That's okay. We
There you
got to
go.
talk about that offline.
Wow.
That's great.
That's a different podcast.
And as the Calgary Marketing Association, we're pretty lucky that we get to be a part of the opening party.
Yeah,
And,
you guys are sponsoring the open party. We have
yeah.
a special ticket just for CMA members this year for the certification, the workshops, and the opening bash. And so that's a great, maybe your budget doesn't allow you to come to SocialWest, or maybe you're busy. I'm hopeful that this day, this special CMA ticket allows you to get your foot in the door and meet some cool people, and hopefully that opens up further doors for you. That would be, I love hearing those stories, and I hope that's true for everyone that comes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we're excited to be part of
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
super happy that you got the chance to do this with us today too, Mike.
Thank you guys. You've always been so kind. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
All
Thanks,
right,
guys.
well, that's it. Anything else you want to talk about, or are you good?
I'm mad that they canceled the Buffy pilot, but yeah, sure. We'll talk about that later, I guess.
Yeah.